All right, we are live with the first ever episode of Breaking with Brian Bonilla. Brian, how are you doing today? How's life?
Yeah, it's all good, man. I mean, Super Bowl's coming up. I tell people, like, if you have friends in advertising, just check in on them, during this week. Just send prayers, say hello, say hi to them, because
Yeah.
it's a tough one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's exciting. It's a pinnacle. I think we all know that in this advertising show. I want to introduce this new thing that we're doing, Brian, and correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. And this is the vision. I think it's, bi-weekly is the goal. Conversations with you. You are the expert. We're going to talk about a variety of different subjects, breaking in the industry to keep our audience, whoever it might be, right? Because it might bring in some new
hmm
people. So they know what's going on, because you are the expert. You're a senior reporter at Ad Age. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. And, to that point, like, well, first, I'm just excited to just do this. And, I know we filmed our podcast a few months ago, but, you know, this is when we talked about this, like, I just thought it was a really interesting idea. And, it's smart because, the advertising industry does have a lot of moving parts to it. And, the idea is, like, we'll be, speaking with you biweekly. But, there might be times where we hop on, because something breaking happened or something interesting is happening during a week or two or whatever month. And so, yeah, I think, and what's interesting, I cover agencies, and what that allows me to do is just be really focused on pretty much all aspects of the industry, because are, agencies and brands just make the industry move. So I get a lot of senses of, like, what's happening just from covering this beat. So
I
yeah, I'm
love this
excited.
beat. It's my favorite beat. I'm passionate about agencies too. I think everybody should start off at an agency in advertising and then figure out from there. Um, so I'm with you. We share that passion point. And I'm not an expert in coverage and journalism. So I want to make that very clear. Just been podcasting for about 4 years now, consistently. So it's really about us kind of just talking about what's happening in the industry. And the subject today, we're recording this, it is Saturday, February 10th, around 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So the big thing, and the big conversation now is the big game. And
Right.
it's the industry is covering it. I think all the ad trades are covering it. It's to be expected. It's the biggest time of the year for advertising. So we're going to put our little high level takes, and I think we'll kind of tease into it from the episode title. We're going to be talking about the non-celebrity ads to look out for this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all of that, ads to look out for. But first, I want to talk about what you're doing for the game. What are you, being a reporter at Ad Age, are you locking yourself in a quiet cubby? Are you like live tweeting? Are you going to go live? Are you with friends? Are you engaging in that Super Bowl party atmosphere? I want to know what you're doing, Brian.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good question. And, like, I'm curious, one day I want to, like, just, like, do a story on, like, what everyone else, like, in the industry does, like, just on that on Super Bowl day, because it is unique to us, right? Like, even you probably have that experience. Like, for me, like, I do have to be aware of what's happening. I can't really go to the bathroom much, but so you got to kind of pick and choose. I actually have to go to the bathroom probably during the game, which the sports fan in me hates that. But
Oh yeah. Yeah,
um,
like, all right. Yeah, like the game's on. It's like the game is the commercial
yeah, exactly.
for us. That's
Um,
so
I
true.
usually, the past few years, I've been doing, like, a more low key Super Bowl thing. Just, I like to live tweet very often.
Do
So
you
just
have
check
your
check me
laptop
out.
out like with a small group? Like you're going?
I, I have it next to me. I try, like, I don't want to be that guy where it's like, all right, like, I don't want to, because, it's not like I'm typing something all the time, but, like, I'm more on my phone, like, tweeting
Yeah.
things. And this year, actually, Tim Nutt, our creativity editor,
He's going to go live.
he's going live on Instagram with just different creatives across the industry, different execs, but also, like, other reporters. And, like, he's been him along with other editors have been just doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the
Yeah.
Super Bowl coverage. So I'm excited for that as well. But this year, I might end up going to an actual real party this year. So
There
I'm
we go.
debating. We'll see how it goes. But
And
yeah,
a lot of the time, I mean, now it seems that all the ads are out already. And especially for you, I'm sure agencies are sending you the ads and ad age the ads way ahead of time. So it's not like, would you say that you're ever surprised by an ad that your team hasn't heard of? Does anything kind of like try to surprise you, or do
right.
you expect that?
Sometimes, you can't, it's inevitable, right? Like you can't cover everything. And, that goes for the news in general, but especially with Super Bowl day, there are brands that want, the surprise factor that
Which
want,
some people like
you
that.
know,
I've heard that. Like, why can't there be like that surprise moment? But
right. Well, I think like you look at like the Tubi ad where,
Frank,
by mischief, where like it pranked everybody, it pranked me. It's like
where
that.
they
I don't know if
changed the
that
channel.
works. I don't know if that works if people know about it, right? Like,
Yeah,
ahead of time. So I do think it makes sense for certain brands to keep it a secret.
yeah.
And this year, I think I've watched more of the ads than I usually do. So I have seen a lot more of them than years past. But I try to, keep some surprises for myself as well.
Gotcha. Love that. And there's also something new in your world that we talked about beforehand. You might be watching the Puppy Bowl this year. Is that
Yeah.
accurate? And maybe you can explain why would you want to watch the Puppy Bowl this year, other than the fact that it's
Well,
amazing?
well, yeah. I mean, just great content. But yeah, I just got a new puppy 2 weeks ago, and her name is Moxie. She's a mini Australian Shepherd. And, I've never owned a dog. I've always owned cats. And this is just like a nice switch up. And it's been like just learning a lot. And as I have a dog now, like I appreciate how much effort goes into like
Yeah,
taking care of these dogs. And I might see the puppy bowl. I might try to watch it. I told my girlfriend we should check it out.
love
So
it. We gotta show some pictures of Moxie then, I think.
yeah, I mean, I wish I shared pictures with you at the time. We could have put it up
We'll
on the
put them up.
screen.
Maybe we'll put them up on social. Or
Yeah,
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 cool,
cool.
nice. We'll keep in touch with Moxie's development. How old?
She is a little over 3 months now.
Okay,
We should just have like a Moxie tracker at the
Moxie
bottom, just
tracker.
like every month. But no, yeah, she's 3 months, so she's excited all the time.
Love it. Love it. And another thing, before we dive into the ads, I think I'm pretty sure Usher is going to be the halftime performer. We know that. So
Yeah,
we have to do a quick, I got to ask you, what's the first song? What are you predicting first song by Usher is going to be?
I think it can't be his main hits yet, right? Like I think if you're an opener, you got to hit something that everyone knows, but isn't like, one of your top five, right? So I think, oh my God, that song, oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. Like that. I think
Wait,
that's
can
a
you
great
sing it a little
opener.
bit more?
No, I didn't write it. So I didn't, but no, it's like, I think that's a great
You
opener,
think that's going to be
just
it?
get people
OMG?
excited. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I was going to go with yeah, but I feel like that's what everybody expects. I'm going to go safe bet. It's going to be yeah, it's a basic answer, but
I mean, why not, right? It's a crowd pleaser. You get
I don't
started.
know.
I mean, he
I
only
don't know that many Usher songs.
well, I mean, I feel that, right? Because he spanned like 2 decades like of music. So
Didn't he discover Justin Bieber? Wasn't like
yes, it was him. Yeah, and then
you think he'll
Ludacris
come
helped,
out?
I think.
You think JB will come out?
Why not? Right? I think you gotta do it. I think it'd be interesting to see like because you gotta pack in a legacy in like 10, 15 minutes, right? So like it'd be interesting to see what he decides. And Usher as an independent artist now, I
Hmm.
think it's interesting, to see that. First independent artist, I think, to be at to host the Super Bowl
And
halftime
that
show.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Well, he bought his own catalog from his label.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious then also want to know, what do you think? I'm surprised question. What is the best halftime show you've seen or you saw videos of?
Mm,
And then what's your favorite Super Bowl ad of all time?
that's interesting. Favorite halftime show. I mean, I will say the hip hop one that we saw recently with Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent.
Yeah, that was good.
That was like, to me, to just see hip hop front and center um, was a really big moment. For me, someone who grew up on it, obviously you can tell by my background, it's a big deal for, like, it is something that influenced my life heavily. So I think that was my favorite. In terms of favorite ads, it's hard, right? Because there's ads that like I've watched after they come out because like they're so relevant culturally. Like the Mean Joe Green ad
Yeah.
with the Coke, and like that's something that I didn't even know about. I didn't watch it because that was during the 80s. I didn't watch that necessarily, but I saw it like on like Family Guy, like a parody, or like like it's something that you were just aware of.
Yep.
But the one ad I do remember growing up and was really fond of was the Puppy Monkey Baby
Yes.
ad.
Yes.
I
That's my
mean,
favorite too.
is
It's
it? Is
awesome.
it really?
That is my
I
number
just think
one.
it's really, that's so funny.
It's so cringe and weird and like
Yeah.
absurd. I remember I interviewed Barry Wilhelmy. She's at Apple now. She was
Mm.
at like a lead recruiter at Wyden, and I was interviewing her. I brought that up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my husband made that ad at the
Yeah.
time," and I like freaked out. And I remember being in high school when I saw that, and my our teacher showed it, and I was like, at that moment, that was one of the pivotal moments where I was like, I wanted to create stuff like
Wow,
that for a
really?
living. That ad was,
Yeah.
and he was saying how crazy it was and ridiculous, but we were talking about it and we were all laughing about it.
No, and like it's funny, like you're talking about David Lubar's, is that right? Or is that
Is it
a
David?
different creative?
I'm sure you
You
know how
could,
that goes. There's like a team, and
I know, right? Yeah.
I'm
Um,
sure she was a Barry's husband was like a part of that in some way, shape, or form.
oh
But
yeah. No, I just what I was saying was I remember talking to David about it. And yeah, it's one of those that I think was polarizing, surprisingly. I think like, you know, I just remember it caught my attention, right? And I think that was the point, right? Like, I think whether you thought it was stupid or whether you thought it was genius or like hilarious, like that's the point,
and we have
to
to
get attention.
remember, that the Super Bowl is watched at parties. And
Right.
we might actually get into this conversation about how do you kind of capture the attention of everybody across the world potentially. Um,
Hmm.
if there's loud environments and they're not as ingrained in the commercials. So that
Right.
ad definitely was able to pull the attention away. So we got to give that kudos. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm with you there. And I want to now like kind of transition, and because
Yeah.
I agreed, I was going to say the same thing. My favorite halftime show easily was Prince, because I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
Bears fan. I believe that was 2007. Prince performing Purple Rain in
That
the
was good.
rain with my
That was good.
team.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the guitar solo, just him. I kind of like that. It was like eyes on him, and it was just beautiful. I think there's like a lot of rankings out there too that you can probably Google people's opinions.
Yeah.
As it's like the number one, and I don't know, just having Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith coached at University of Illinois when I was
Mhm.
there, so Bears fan, love that one. If anybody doesn't remember that one, 2007, Google it. Do yourself a favor, watch it. It's
That
beautiful.
was great. No, that was a great one. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this year's Super Bowl because Bears aren't in it.
Sure.
What sports team are you a fan of?
Giants. So, you know,
Oh, Tommy DeVito.
uh, yeah, Tommy DeVito.
That's my guy. He went.
Honestly,
He was
what? Yeah, what do you think of him? Interesting, like just the fact that like
Tommy
you
Cutlets.
can go from not being known to just like being a marketing like something that can be marketable and like just and still and play well. It's like, I don't know. It's hilarious.
I know. I love that. So Giants aren't in it. Tommy DeVito's not in it. My Bears are not in it.
Fortunately, no
We got
cutlets.
no
No
cutlets.
cutlets.
His agent's not in it. But what do back to kind of like the Super Bowl. What are we seeing ad wise? What's the trend? We've seen the crypto bowl. Like, I think there's like beer bowl potentially in the past couple years. They kind of like jump up with these recurring themes personified by what's consistently shown. So what are you predicting? Like, is there a name for this year already? What are the trends to look out for? Tell me about what you guys have been seeing over at Ad Age and in your own perspective.
There's I've had conversations with executives around the industry, and a lot of them, I've been doing this for 3 years, so I'm not here like acting like, oh, back in the 90s, I know how people used to think about these ads. No, but from talking to these executives who've done this for a long time, I have heard more of a positive sentiment on these ads this year than I've heard in the past 2 years. And, granted, like, I know the pandemic, maybe that, like maybe people were just not feeling it, right? Like maybe it just wasn't top of mind, like Super Bowl and ads and things like that. But I don't know. I think I think there's way more comedy. Obviously, there's always comedy, but I think like comedy is a big factor this year. I think the celebrity usage has increased surprisingly. But for me, like, I'm calling this the snack bowl. Like personally, like it's
snack bowl.
There's so many snack brands, surprising snack brands that are spending the high price point, estimated at $7 million an ad to promote like these snacks. Like there's Nerds, Reese's, Oreos, Doritos, Dinamita. There's Drumstick, which I don't think anyone could have predicted is
with Eric Andre and the Drumstick.
With Eric Andre. Yeah, it's like, who would have thought? Like, obviously snacks are a part of Super Bowl culture, but I think to the extent that we're seeing so many brands is really interesting.
I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. If you think about the population and the audience, everybody loves a good snack. I think it does play. I just wonder, like, I haven't done enough research or I haven't really thought about it. Like, why now? Why are these brands engaging in the snack bowl now? Like, I don't know. Do you have any like takes on why you think these snacks are doing this today?
I think, what I found interesting, right? Doritos they're not promoting their typical brand, right? They're promoting their like side brand or new brand. Poppy is another one that is, Poppy soda.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and Drumstick, like, I think what people are seeing is like, now's kind of the time to maybe reemerge as a brand or promote something new. I think, you look at the past few years, like crypto, I think last year was a big topic last year. So you don't want to get crowded. You don't want to get like ignored amid, all these crypto ads. I think I think there's a sense of people want kind of just happy ads right now. And I think with that, I think it makes sense for snacks to appear,
and also if one snack brand potentially, just thinking out loud here, finds out that Nerds is doing it, maybe then Lindt wants to join in. I don't know if there's a direct connection there, but it might have a domino effect if they catch wind. They might want to jump in too.
Yeah, and Lindt to me is the surprise. I mean, Lindor chocolates, like I would never have guessed that, in a million years. And they're not
Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is coming up.
Valentine's Day. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, they're also like these ads. If you look at them, they're going for it. They're not, playing it safe. All of them, like
Drumstick,
like hiring,
especially
Reese's.
with
having Eric on it. Yeah.
Gotta give my guy Eric Coleman a shout out on Reese's. No use of celebrity in that one either, which we're gonna get to.
Well, yeah,
which I love. And
what
then
else? yeah, other trends like I'm thinking about like, well, just me personally, like Suits, the TV show Suits,
Popped off this year.
popped off, which like is so funny. I saw it, I watched it, I binged it last year, I think it was.
Oh,
And
before the
so I
math.
was early. So I was early is to this.
Is it
No,
good?
but
I never watched. I didn't watch it. I haven't watched
no,
really
you should
anything.
watch it. It's one of those shows that like, you don't take it too seriously, but it's good. It's good, and
I
like
don't want to
it's
learn
a
about
bit.
another industry though. I feel like I want to immerse myself in Mad Men again if I'm going to do it.
Oh, you want to go deep, is what you're saying, or
Yeah,
you
like I
don't
don't want
want
to learn like billions as well caught wind in college. I'm trying to lock in on this ad stuff. I'm gonna binge watch.
to?
Like I don't want to learn about lawyer stuff.
I don't think it's one of those shows that goes that deep in it.
Okay.
Like, I think it's more like, I don't know. I think it's a bingeable show. It's one of those shows that like you just
Good
like
characters,
you
good
can keep
story.
watching it,
Yeah.
and there's always a resolution, and
How
it
many
works out.
how many ads this year are are there multiple suits references or is there because I
Right.
saw one, I forgot which one it was.
There's two, but what's funny, it's like
That's $14 million
so
dollars at least.
right. That's what's right now. What's funny, it's that they got a resurgence because of Netflix buying the rights to the show. And it happened during the writer's strike, and I think that was also part of it where people were looking for shows. Maybe there was a lag in how many new shows were coming out.
Good point.
And
Ryan.
Netflix buys Suits, and it just skyrockets. And these characters that haven't, maybe been on screen for a few years are all of a sudden in these Super Bowl ads. Elf Beauty. So Elf Beauty has an ad
Oh,
featuring multiple
right.
characters. Yeah.
Yes.
You saw that?
The Judge Judy.
Yeah, Judge Judy. So Elf
She looks
Beauty's
good.
doing that.
She looks good on that ad.
Looks good, and
Yeah. She still got it.
it has three characters in there. I and this is kind of messed up. I kind of just know them by their name, so I'm just gonna reference
Mhm.
like Lewis Litt is the lawyer character in there, and Donna, who plays like a secretary who kind of knows everything, and she's more than a secretary. She's like the operator in the law firm. She's on there. Um, and Jessica Pearson, the actress that plays Jessica Pearson, reprises her role, and it's like a fun ad. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And then the second ad to feature Suits characters is actually T-Mobile.
Mhm.
And this story I wrote, I interviewed the agency Panay Films. I don't know if you're too familiar with them,
No, I haven't
but
heard of them before.
it's interesting. They Andrew Panay, he's a producer from Hollywood. He produced Wedding Crashers. That was like one of his biggest films. He
Nice.
created
Love it.
the idea for that and all that. And he did Wedding Crashers, Hot to Time Machine. A lot of comedies, some dramas as well. And so he started an agency. I don't even know now. Like I think 10 years ago, maybe longer. I don't know the exact number, but they've been around, and they are known for having that connection to Hollywood. They're capable of they know these celebrities personally.
Right.
It's not the same as an agency that maybe has to call an agent. Like Andrew Panay, he literally he hangs out with these people
Right.
and all that. So they've done a lot of the T-Mobile Super Bowl ads in the past. Think about Tom Brady and Gronkowski. They were trying to call each other, and they had that misconnection. That was them. And this year they have two T-Mobile ads. One is a continuation of the Scrubs guys.
Yep.
Yeah. So Zach Braff and Faison hold on, I'm messing up the name. Donald Faison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've done their musical ads for the past 3 years, and they were in the Super Bowl last year. And this year they're in an ad with Jason Momoa, Aquaman,
Yep.
and so there's a little bit of nostalgia in there because there's a reference to Flashdance, that 80s movie, and Jennifer Beals, who starred in Flashdance, makes an appearance at the end, and she's in the Jason Momoa like recreates that scene, where there's like water sprinkling down, and there's the chair. She's on the chair, whatever.
Yeah.
Classic. So there's that one, but then they also just released on Friday another T-Mobile spot that will be in the game, where there's like 6 or so celebrities auditioning to be the next like T-Mobile spokesperson. And this is promoting their like Magenta loyalty program. It's a new loyalty program for the carrier. And within that, when there's Common, he's doing an impression of Denzel Washington in Training Day. There's Bradley Cooper and his mom. Again, they were in the Super Bowl last year.
My parents love that one.
Yeah, I thought it was authentic. It was nice. And they came their back. Jennifer Hudson. And within that, the 2 main actors from, Suits are also in there.
Back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And that was largely unscripted. They had an outline, but a lot of that was the celebrities themselves given the free reign to come up with stuff,
like a Curb Your Enthusiasm style. I think that's how they kind of operate that show.
Yeah, and it was, you're right, actually they do. And like some of that were in celebrity homes, like Bradley Cooper's home, and Laura Dern, that was her home, and Bradley Cooper's juggling apples, and like those are apples that he actually had in his house, and he was kind of improvising, so Suits Bowl, I'm and beyond the Super Bowl, like we saw the actor that plays Louis Litt also in an ad for, I don't know if you saw this one. This was from Gray, the agency Gray. It was for just a law like management tool company, but it was really funny, and he was in an ad for them. And T-Mobile told me personally that they're going to be launching more ads with the Suits guys in the future. So
look at that.
I don't think it's going away.
The suits are going. Yeah. Why not? I like that. So we got Snack Bowl, Suits Bowl, but there's stuff going on. I think is definitely like we want to cover is beyond the screen, and actually beyond the Super Bowl. Of course, there are a couple brands that are doing some interesting work that we have to mention. What's going on beyond the screen, beyond the Super Bowl, Brian?
Yeah, I think this is probably the most interesting thing about the Super Bowl nowadays. It's that conversation of like, yes, of course, you're going to have the ultimate reach that any ad can have. I believe it's like 113 million viewers in one night. But at the same time, like you're spending $7 million, you want to maximize the opportunity that you get for your ad.
Oh, yeah.
So we are seeing people go, beyond the screen. I think the biggest one in terms of coverage so far in the news, and, I think the one I'm looking forward to the most is DoorDash. They are, working with the different brands within the Super Bowl to actually, it's like a giant sweepstakes. So once the DoorDash ad pops up, people will be able to access through a QR code or website link. They can submit, their name, and whoever wins, it'll be one winner. They get like a memorabilia from FanDuel, right? The FanDuel ad with Gronkowski. They can get, a Kawasaki bike. They get different items from
each
other Super Bowl ads.
It's so smart. The hijacking is genius.
Yeah. And it's smart. And then, we're talking about Coinbase, and we're talking about, Tubi earlier. We're talking about FanDuel trying to interact with fans beyond the ad. FanDuel working with Gronkowski to do the fantasy kick again, is because they got a lot of people to sign up on their apps.
That conversion is so important. Yeah.
It is important. I think it helps marketers to know that there's some sort of ROI that they can address quickly. I don't think it's going away.
No. And there's some stuff going on like beyond the Super Bowl. Brands are capitalizing. Liquid Death putting ads on their case for sale. Genius, of course, not surprised by Liquid Death, being smart and strategic. Dano's actually capitalized on that as well. At the bottom of their bottles, Dano's Spices, which is a big TikTok brand. I believe they got like their fame off TikTok. I could be wrong there, but they're selling to go off the Liquid Death where they're selling ads on their cases. Dano's is putting something at the bottom of their spice bottles, which is a fun little riff off of that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's more. There was that smart water we saw today, actually, Brian. We were talking about how smart water, like on LinkedIn, there was an ad on eBay by Smart Water where their Liquid Death is selling those ad slots, I believe. And there's a little back and forth between the two brands there. So more eyes, even without spending on the Super Bowl itself.
Well, I wanted to get your take on the Liquid Death stuff. I mean, everyone loves their marketing. Obviously, they're one of the common case studies for modern marketing. What was your opinion as someone in advertising, like of just that type of advertising?
My opinion is this: I can't speak for all of advertising, but from everybody I've talked to, these guys, and I've interviewed Andy Pearson. I feel like he's been on every podcast now. He's so good at PRing and he just gets marketing in general. They are a brand that started, they're advertisers at heart. They started in advertising. And I believe that they were I think it was Mike Cesario wanted to create good ads and created this brand. And there's so many podcasts, so many articles about them, how they're doing everything right. And I believe it's true. I think you can't argue the fact that they know their brand identity, they know their purpose, and they do it better than everybody, in my opinion. And I get jealous. I wish brands would be, brave about it. Every agency wants to work on Liquid Death. They want to work on brands that know that. So they're leading the way, and we're seeing that it works, right? I think they're establishing themselves, at least with awareness. I'm not sure what the sales are looking like. So I'm all for it. I do, some of it, I see them so much just because I'm so ingrained in the industry. I follow you guys, follow all the ad trades. So I see it a lot. Right. I don't know if I don't know if it's breaking through the public though. I'm talking through it the lens of, a fan of this industry. So I would be curious to see what somebody that's not maybe in accounting or somebody in finance, what do they think about it too? If they're even seeing all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, I've had personal conversations with people about where they brought it up, or people will say I saw that brand. I've had people saying they don't know what the brand is, but they've seen it, it does vary. At the end of the day, it's never going to be a perfect, situation, but I don't know. Having brands out there are definitely important for the industry that are doing that type of work.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed. So let's talk about, I think the big thing of this Super Bowl, and we've heard it, and I think it's been talked about, there's a lot of celebrities in the Super Bowl. Now to the main portion of this, we want to highlight, right, Brian? We want to highlight some of the non-celebrity ads to look out for this Super Bowl. And why I want to put a little note on this. I worked at a portfolio school and we were taught, I saw the teachings there basically saying that using celebrities in ads is a kind of a cop-out. It's easy to write in Shaquille O'Neal and have him own the brand. I'm not here to debate that. I just want to put that out there. I would love to hear your take on that too. I don't agree with that. I think if the celebrity aligns and it brings the brand forward, then sure. And plus it's the Super Bowl, so it's a special occasion where you need that familiarity. So I'm not here to debate that. I just want to bring that point up. I'd be curious if people want to write in, comment on LinkedIn, reach out to us, their views on celebrities and ads. But that's not necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about what are the ads that are not using them that are impressive to us.
Well, I think, and to your point, so this Super Bowl has seen, I think, an increase in the usage of celebrities. And, we are seeing celebrities become a bigger part of the marketing world. Celebrity-owned agencies are, it's not a niche anymore. It's becoming a common thing. Terry Crews launched an agency last year. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, everything he touches turns to gold. So it's more and more, I think the marketing industry has to learn how to work with celebrities because they're here to stay when it comes to how they are working with brands. Um, but I think there can be that pressure if you have a celebrity on how to use them correctly. It's not always like you put a spokesperson in. Sometimes, especially if it's the Super Bowl, you want to like make use of the fact that you did get this, high profile celebrity. But on the other side, like I do commend brands that are going about it, without that celebrity, push, right?
Because you better
And
have a big idea. You better have it.
right,
It better be funny, or it better break through emotionally. I think, yeah. And let's talk about those, because those are
yeah,
important to me from a pure strategic craft point of view. If you're not using a celebrity, we definitely want to highlight like how they stood out. And there's a couple that we have on the list here. I think,
yeah,
do you want to kick us off with the first brand that you put on the list?
yeah. I'll start, and you can go from there. But Microsoft, to me, has an interesting ad that I think people should look out for. We talked about the Crypto Bowl last year. There was a conversations, I've had with people that are like, is it going to be the AI Bowl this year? Not quite, but there are elements of AI in the Super Bowl this year. It's not every other ad, but Microsoft, I think, took a really interesting approach this year. They're actually returning for the first time in 4 years to the Super Bowl to promote. They have an AI assistant called Copilot, and the whole idea behind that was this element of "Watch Me." That's the name of the ad, and it's like, oh, do you feel like you can't start your own business? Do you feel like you can't learn a new language? Do you feel like you can't get a degree? Watch me, because I now have Copilot. And that's, I think, a good idea, big idea, like you said. And, it conveys a message. And, in a world where AI is increasingly a bigger part of what we do, um, it's going to be important how the messaging around these products are told to people.
Right.
And that was an ad where, again, that was actually done by Panay Films, who's worked with Microsoft for years. They also work with McCann as in their roster of agencies. And, when I was talking to Kathleen Hall, the chief brand officer of Microsoft, she was telling me that it wasn't just like, all right, let's make this ad. Panay had been working with, and the Microsoft marketing internal team had been working with the engineers for, I think, like 7 months or something like that. Just on like different aspects of understanding what the tool is, like how should this be conveyed.
Yeah, because
And
it showcased the uses of the AI Copilot, but also it kind of addresses there's there's fears and there's optimism around it, and there's a lot of confusion about how AI will influence the future, and people are worried about their jobs. And to me, this ad encapsulates how I truly feel about it, and I love it. And the proving, like the watch me, I think it's just a great strategy. I tell students when I go talk to colleges and universities across the country, there's no excuse for you not to create something you love now. I created this podcast 4 years ago where generative AI wasn't as established. If there was no ChatGPT, and now I teach a class at the University of Illinois, which is about AI and advertising. And I actually, in one class, in about 20 minutes, I was able to, with AI and chat and Bard, and I kind of use all these different tools. I had them brainstorm some different ideas of stuff that they loved. They didn't know what they were doing, but I had each person tell me out loud what's something you're passionate about. And we ended up boiling it down. I picked one student, and the student said she loves snowboarding in Colorado. So from there, we created a podcast and recorded it. And we actually created a logo, a concept, a script about snowboarding in Colorado in about 30 minutes.
Wow.
And it was so fun. And I was basically, the whole thing was saying there's no excuse for you not to create something you love, because that can end up being your job full time if you stick with it. So I love that ad. It speaks to me so much about like you can do anything now. And of course, like it allows you to open up and be more creative using it as a tool. I was obsessed with this ad, and I'm glad you kind of pointed that out.
Yeah, and you mentioned like you love just the idea of AI. Like when I was talking to Kathleen, like that was something they found on in terms of research was she labeled there's this group of people out there called AI optimists, where there's people that maybe don't know about AI, but they want to know. They're not scared of it. They just don't know what it is, you know? And I think that's going to be important, you know, as we talk about AI and as we use AI. And, you know, I think it's a bold move for Microsoft to try to use the Super Bowl to launch this idea, you know?
Totally. And I think they did it in a really great way that it's friendly and it's easy. Like I wish my parents are retired. Like I want my mom to like create something and stay busy, and like she can use this to like consult with retail, because she worked in retail for the longest time, and she thinks that she's done. She thinks that she's retired and there's nothing like to learn, but there's so much you can do. So I hope she sees that and gets motivated as well.
Yeah. You know, do you want to keep going down the list?
Let's keep going.
Yeah. Do you want to do the next one, or you want
Sure.
to?
I think kind of playing off that, you know, AI in a different light, right? There is use of AI, I believe, in this ad, is with Google. And, you know, the phone, what is it, Pixel? Or is it just more of a, the Pixel 8. Disability, AI capabilities, appealing to ethos, or appealing to pathos, a guy with a disability of seeing of some sort, you know, using the Pixel to identify faces. And that feature that they have, it was basically announcing you have two faces in the camera frame, helping him like take better photos. We kind of saw this similar format though with Real Tone. I believe it was maybe 2 years ago. It was beautiful with Lizzo singing. I think I have to give a shout out to this Xanthi Wells, who's at Pinterest now, but she kind of helped with that, working with Gut. And they just did this one. So another beautiful use in demonstrating the power behind AI and the power of the Google Pixel phone, just done beautifully. And to tease it at the end, I think you guys should watch it. It's a beautiful moment. And
yeah. No, sorry, I was gonna say like, what I found interesting was, you know, they have a blind director telling the story, and to tell that story, they put like they blurred the lens, you know, using some sort of jelly. I forgot what it's called. So he can say like, this is how I see the world, you know. And the phone tells you like, oh, like it'll like using its voice on the phone, it'll say like, move a little closer this way, a little closer that way, so you can take good selfies, good pictures of your dog, you know, if you are, you know, vision impaired. And I just
AI
think it's
for
another
good, like another use case for AI for being another argument for it being a good thing, and optimism around it. And yeah, like no use of celebrities. Like there's no need. Like, because the story was, they had the insight, they, whatever it might have been, like they address what's relevant, they address fears, the tension in the world, and created some really strong ads from it.
And to your point, like the best performing ad, I believe the top of the ad meter last year was Farmer's Dog. And that was no celebrities, that had an emotional story.
Yeah.
And it just, sometimes it is that simple, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes it is that simple, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk for days about ad meter versus like the editorial favorite ads.
Right.
That's why we talked about Puppy Monkey Baby, because they always say the best way to have a high performing ad is to have a puppy, a monkey, or a baby.
A monkey and a baby. Yeah.
So they just they riffed off that as well. Next one on the list. Poppy, you put this one
Yeah.
on. No use of celebrity. Poppy. What's the Poppy's competitor?
Olipop.
Olipop, which
Right.
these healthier sodas. Why'd you put
Mhm.
this one on the list, Brian?
Well, this was actually a last minute decision by Poppy to make it into the Super Bowl. Um, I think it's really interesting. I think, look, the beverage category is interesting, but at the end of the day, when it comes to soda, Coke does have a lion's share of that beverage industry. But we have started seeing these challenger brands like Poppy, like Olipop, start to, get a lot of attention, especially as people care about health more than ever. I just thought the ad was interesting because, they only started promoting themselves on TV a month before I think the ad is going to launch. And, this is a brand that like gained a lot of its popularity through social media, word of mouth, like,
Influencers for sure.
right, exactly. So, to like make that decision, especially like last minute, like I thought was kind of bold and interesting. And to not have to use a celebrity, I thought was interesting as well. And the whole the idea is like, you know, um, showing images of people drinking poppy and different things like that. But this idea of, the future of soda is now,
Hmm.
um, I think is an interesting idea. It's basically trying to replace, what these legacy brands have looked like to millions of Americans for years. And I just thought that was a good insight. The future of soda is now, thanks to Poppy. Like, I
Yeah,
thought that was a really good.
reframing how we view soda as healthy. They've been preaching that in their social ads and their influencer outreach. I knew that, of course, that it's a healthier soda. It's got probiotics, and now they're taking that to the largest stage. And I think
Mhm.
that's interesting that Poppy is doing that because it is kind of like an arms race right now. I feel like I don't know what the market share is. Of course, I'm not marketing. I don't look at that stuff.
What
But
are we, professionals? No.
right, I'm not. Um, I like that they're going up. They're first to it. They beat Olipop, right? That's got to mean something. But I'm sure Olipop might actually increase shares too, or increase volume, sales volume as well. If they're looking up Olipop, if they're looking up Poppy, similar names too. I get them kind of confused. So maybe Poppy will have more brand awareness consideration. The
Mhm.
marketing funnel will increase for them because of the Super Bowl ad. But it's a lot of money too. So that is a really interesting strategic decision from Poppy.
In the story we wrote on the ad, there were, sources who speculated that, it's kind of an arm race for Poppy and Olipop to reach that $1 billion valuation so they can eventually sell. And maybe that's the case, right?
Mm.
But when I saw the ad, it seemed to me like the insight was maybe people don't realize Poppy is soda, or they don't equate it as much as they should,
Hmm.
because if you watch the ad, it's very much like Poppy is soda, like, and it's I thought that was interesting, because maybe the challenge is like, if you think it's healthy, you think it's not a soda, maybe it's a sparkling water, or maybe, like, and they're like, no, this is what soda is. So we'll see if that resonates, but
There we
interesting
go.
choice.
Good one. Volkswagen, you put on the list. What do you think about this one? Um, Tell us about Volkswagen here. It's a long one.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
know?
I think sorry.
Do you know how many slots that they have for this, or is it a minute? Because they have a 2 minute.
I think it's a minute. There is a 2 minute version. I do recommend that, like, if you're an ad nerd, or if you're a car nerd, or you just like good films, I would recommend watching the 2 minute ad. It basically, it shows like the Volkswagen Beetle, when it first came out, and how, it was very different from a lot of the traditional cars that were out at the time. And it shows the 75-year history of the Volkswagen. This ad from Johannes Leonardo, their longtime like creative AOR.
Yeah.
It comes on the 75th anniversary for the car brand, and I forgot the exact wording of the end, but it's essentially like, the reason the car brand is what it is because of the people that made it what it is essentially the end of the tagline. And, I thought it was just beautifully shot to just show like the different eras and generations of people, and how maybe in the beginning, people were looking at this car like it's kind of weird. And at the end of the ad, it shows like a couple walking in, the girl like looks back at the car, like almost like, it made me think of that meme with the couple walking, and then the girl looking
Looking
at
back.
like maybe some, yeah, looking back at some guy or something. But it's like, it it has changed, and I thought that was just a beautifully shot video.
I hope it captures attention at the Super Bowl parties. For us, the ad nerds out there, we've watched it. We appreciate it. I just worry sometimes that those longer, more narrative driven, less punchy ads might get lost.
Right, it's a good point, and like, it depends also the timing of when the ad comes out. I don't remember the exact quarter, but sometimes something big just happened in the game, and everybody's just talking about what happened in the game. So it's so unpredictable sometimes that an ad like that could get overshadowed by, maybe there's a more like someone re-upped on wings or something. I don't know, but it's just like, we'll see. But I think you're right. Narrative driven ads do have that challenge when it comes to Super Bowl.
If I was a diamond company, I would put something in the fourth quarter and be like, big announcement from Travis Kelce coming at the end.
What if it's just nothing? Oh, and then it's just nothing, imagine. No, it would be like a discount. You might piss off a lot of people. I don't know. I don't know if you want to get the Swifties angry.
No, I feel like the Swifties like Kelce or whatever. Well, I'm not an expert, but isn't there speculation that he's going to propose?
Where isn't there speculation when it comes to Taylor Swift? But yeah, there is that speculation. First, she has to get there. I think that's
She'll
the
get
big
there.
question. Will she make it?
I
think she
thought
will.
she will. It's a 13-hour flight, right?
Yeah, that's nothing.
She got to stop in Hawaii, I believe.
Yeah,
I saw a TikTok. So yeah, true. I think that's about it, though. There's E-Trade babies are back. Kia's figure skater EV ad is beautiful. No celebrity in there. I got to give a shout out to Etsy and their cheese board ad made by Orchard. My guy David Kolbush, he's awesome. That Etsy one's hilarious. It's like we find like the U.S. I don't think there's any celebs. My pop culture knowledge is just
no. I didn't see any, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, but I didn't see any.
That one's good. Definitely you should watch out for that one. Etsy cheese board. It's basically back. The U.S. gives a gift back to France for the Statue of Liberty. Yeah. And they're like, what are the French like? And then somebody's like, cheese. So they Etsy a cheese board to them. They love it. Hard Knock Life. I don't know what it's actually called, but it's like the girl confidence. It's really strong insight. Nothing surprised me like there. Like just great work that extension of Real Beauty. It seemed like the girl confidence of collaboration with Nike. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, it was research done by, in collaboration with Nike, and they found that, I believe 45% of women or young women stop playing sports because of how they feel about their bodies. And, I just think that, again, like that's a great, insight or statistic to latch a big idea onto.
And that's, for the aspiring advertisers out there listening, what you should be. That is Dove. They figured it out. And I don't know if they were with Ogilvy. I feel like they always do these with Ogilvy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One insight. And where I get a little worried about the Poppy ad, actually, is there's like a bunch of reasons to believe. I feel like I'm not sure. I watched it maybe twice. So I got a little lost there trying to figure out what the messaging was, but with Dove, it's so clear. It's, one insight, create around that, reason to believe, whatever you want to call it. Very simple messaging, meaningful. So you can't not love the Dove.
And look, Dove has been known for this. It's not like, and that's the other thing too. When you talk about brands staying true to who they are, Dove has been setting the state. Like they do this. This is what they do. They do
Purpose,
emotional,
meaningful,
right?
Consistent, and they back it up. You gotta love it. So no celebrities in all these. I think those are the big ones. I'm sure there's gonna be more. I'm sure we missed some, but everybody's covering how I feel like there's a lot of celebrities in this Super Bowl. So I'm glad that we gave some love to these non-celeb ads.
For sure.
And,
yeah.
And how we will usually do this show, Brian, this is a special, but we usually will probably highlight big news going on in the industry. So we got to go over at least 3 topics: agency news, stuff people should know. Let's hammer through them. And so what's been going on in the agency world? What's enlightened us, Brian?
Yeah. And by the way, every episode special, Geno. That's the point. Every episode special. But
that's right.
Look, 3 agency topics. There's so much constantly going on in the agency beat. It's very interesting. We talked about AI. That's not just for brands. That's a big topic for agencies. WPP and Publicis announced 2 major plans to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in AI over the coming years.
Not going away.
Not going away. And what's interesting with that announcement, Publicis, they announced their AI tool, Core AI, which will sit basically across the entire holding company.
It's got to be 50,000 employees at least,
right? And they're obviously rolling it out slowly. But the idea is this will impact every major category within their operations. So this will affect operations. This will affect creative. This will affect media. And they showcase the tools, and WPP also showcased their own WPP Open tool. And again, I keep talking about this like arms race to prove who knows the most AI and who's the best at it. And it couldn't have been more clear than when those 2 announcements came out. The idea is if you're a media planner at Publicis and you get an alert from the AI. This is one example. You can get an alert from the AI where if you're working for a car brand and maybe a certain dealership has run out, or dealerships in a certain area have run out of a certain car, do you flip your messaging to promote something else? And now a media planner gets that AI alert. They can then use generative AI within all the same platform. It's like you're using a dashboard, right? And you can then change the image, you can then change the messaging using AI within seconds. Normally, this probably would have taken a few phone calls to different people if it's a big emergency, especially, right? That changes things. That changes how things are done. I'm curious to see how this will affect the way that these holding companies charge for their services, right? A lot of times there are hourly rates. How are you going to shift your structure if something that took maybe a week is now taking a day, right? How do you account for the value that you are creating using AI, right? So I think that's kind of the next step that I think holding companies have to prove. But we'll see. We'll see.
It's a great call out.
The other one, there were some big creative moves this past 2 weeks, I would say. One was a creative actually moving to the CEO role. Danny Robinson, if you're not familiar with him, you should be. The longtime chief creative officer at Martin Agency. By the way, he had a hand in the Oprah Winfrey, You Get a Car thing. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You get a car.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. And so Danny Robinson, he will be taking over as CEO of the Martin Agency, which, does ads for brands like Geico, Anheuser-Busch, DoorDash, and more, and I think that's a big deal personally.
Was Kristen, is it taking over Kristen's role? Or because Kristen's is like the head of Mullen Lowe or something, right?
Yeah, she took a dual role as the CEO of Bonilla. And, this is, I guess a way for her to, spend more attention on Molilla's side. Which, I think Kristen has always been known to make unique hires and not be afraid to, go against the status quo. And to hire a creative to become a CEO is not only on its own like a big deal. You don't see that a lot unless you are a founder of an agency. But, Danny Robinson now becomes one of the few Black CEOs in the agency world, in the industry. And that's a big deal.
Big time.
Susan Cradle, another big creative. She's going to be taking it. She was the lead creative at FCB globally. And now she will be an IPG advisor, overseeing and helping creative across the holding company.
Yeah.
With that move, Andres Ordonez is now the global CCO at FCB. And, that's, Susan Cradle, another trailblazer, another person that's been in the industry for a long time, a female creative. I just think these are two really big moves. And, they're not just big, but they're diverse moves and two iconic kind of creatives,
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to that.
Totally.
I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but
it makes sense to me. I got to give a shout out to my boss, Myra Nussbaum, she's the president and CCO of Chicago.
Yeah.
I think another, she's been that for 2 years now. And, anytime that I love when agencies invest in creative in the C-suite, and to see like Danny get to that level as a CEO, it makes a better case for the industry and creatives out there that there's larger ambitions, that creativity can manage, creativity can drive business. So I'm all for that. I think that's a win for the whole industry, for creative agencies all around the world. We love to see that type of stuff.
And the last one I want to shout out in terms of agency news was me and my colleague Lindsay Rittenhouse, who's just outstanding, and it's just great to work with. We worked on this story about we've seen an influx of high-profile agency acquisitions in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 months. Not just acquisitions, but mergers, right? You look at the VML merger. You look at, Accenture Song acquiring Work & Co. You look at Gut selling a majority stake to
I forgot about that. Yeah. To what was it? Globant?
Globant, yeah, which, a lot of people told me they hadn't heard of before that. And yeah, and I think it just Ativo Group, another marketing services / consulting company, buying Deutsch New York, which is different than Deutsch LA, and Hill Holiday. Deutsch LA will remain with IPG.
Okay.
Important. A lot of people don't,
I
keep
did not
up
know
with
that.
agency stuff. Yeah, exactly. So, those two entities have separated a couple of years ago, but it just, was so interesting to us that we wanted to take a deep dive and see what do people think will happen in 2024 in terms of acquisitions. Andrew Essex, an executive at Tata Consultancy. It's one of the largest consultancies in the world, especially their main roots are in India, but they are looking to acquire agencies as well and things like that. And he saw this as a move that these recent acquisitions as something that will continue to shift the industry in the next 2 years. I think IPG selling two of its like legacy agencies. You don't see that often. So I am expecting to see private equity firms, look into the digital space. AI is a big conversation. I think right now, PE firms and consultants, while they would love to invest in AI agencies, there are not many that are proving that they like. It's still a little too early, right? To say that you are a AI agency. There are small AI agencies like Supernatural, that have proven themselves, but can you prove it at scale, right? And I think so. I think they're right, and just so there's a wait and see approach there, but design is still a big thing. We heard a lot of different independent agencies that people have been looking at. Mojo Supermarket actually gave us a statement that they've never entertained any offers and they don't know where these rumors are coming from. But
We're
the
never
fact is,
selling.
the fact is people are looking at them. Tom Bress, another independent agency, is getting interest. I heard Collins is getting interest, and so you might see your favorite agency change owners this year, but we'll see about that. But it's something that I think everyone could benefit from looking at, especially if you're trying to enter the industry, just to see like where are people heading. Is working at a consultant a good move?
And look at the recent acquisitions too of the people like a couple of years ago. Look at Droga 5 now and Accenture. Like, do your own research and see how the work has changed, and if that's still the agency that you want to go to, or see the impact, wait it out. Just be cognizant of that happening. I think that's a great call out. I remember being at Droga 5, raising my hand as a student in college, right as the news broke, and I asked them, "Are you worried about the culture changing and the creative work changing?" And they said with a resounding confidence, nothing will change. So I asked that question, and I'm still looking, and the verdict's still out on how that has affected. Obviously, because David Droga's gone up. But I love that, and I want to also know breaking and entering media is getting looked at by all these same firms.
I'm sure, yeah. Look, man. I mean, look. Some people have different strategies, right? Sometimes it's about selling. Sometimes you don't even think about it, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's a beautiful fit, and it works. It's a good marriage, and you can tap into all the data of that firm or of that consultancy or whatever it might be. And sometimes there is a real benefit, mutually beneficial aspect of it. So, and there's a lot smarter people than myself making those decisions.
And the one last thing, this is kind of outside of the industry a little bit, but related to it. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. I thought it was just funny and interesting. Have you seen that new Apple spot with the plug that's singing, and it's lonely because like Apple phones last so long. I think you don't need to charge them. So
yeah, the first couple months.
Right, exactly. So I thought that was a funny ad, and so if you haven't seen it, there's a outlet that's just like singing about how lonely it is, and the singer of that song, Doughboy, a Cleveland, Ohio rapper, since the ad has gone out, like he got a shout out from LeBron James, and his streams increased by over 200% after that commercial aired. Shout out to the source for reporting that. But yeah, I mean, this rapper that maybe a lot of people don't know, getting that exposure is just so huge.
Brands are powerful, especially Apple. I mean, using your resources and using the brand's voice to elevate maybe those that are underrepresented is super powerful and worth noting. And whether or not they plan that, that's awesome. Like, all brands should take a note out of that, and like entertaining different voices in the ads or on screen, off screen, behind the screen, super important. And I love that you brought that up, and we'd love to see that.
But yeah, that's all I had for you on that. Appreciate it.
We did it, Brian. Fun episode. We covered Super Bowl. We covered Puppy Bowl. How you got your new puppy. We'll be back. I think if anybody's listening and they have comments and they want to reach out, you can DM the Breaking and Entering LinkedIn page with ideas, what you want to hear next. We're always open for it. We can we'll take any comments. So Brian, great job. First episode in the books.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a couple weeks.
It's only up from here. Thanks,
That's
Geno.
right.
I appreciate it.
Rock and roll.